Hey everyone, it's Carissa Wiley here for EllenHutson.com. Thanks for joining me today. In this month's edition of the EllenHutson.com newsletter, I'm going to give you a guide to die cutting. I'm going to answer some of the most basic questions about die cutting, and we're going to take a look at the 3 machines carried in the EllenHutson.com store, and these, in our opinion, are the best machines on the market. So let's start out with what is a die. You are looking at a die set here in the center. It's all these heart-shaped metal pieces. Dies come in various shapes, sizes, even sentiments. But the way I like to describe a die is by using a cookie cutter as an example. So a cookie cutter has a smooth top where I can grab it. And then on the back side, there's a blade. Now, when you apply this blade to cookie dough and you give it a little bit of pressure, the cookie dough is cut in a perfect star shape. So a die works the same way, but instead of cutting cookie dough, we're going to cut paper or other lightweight materials, even felt sometimes. These work great. So on this side of the die, you're going to see a little raised blade. Now this blade is not sharp enough that you're going to cut yourself with it. And then on the other side, you're going to find a smooth area. Now this is a wafer thin die. These are the most popular types of dies on the market. And you can see I have an entire set of these Hero Arts nesting heart dies. Now, just like a cookie cutter, when I place that blade face down onto my dough or my paper and I apply pressure, I'm left with a perfectly cut piece of paper, which is called a die cut. And these are great for stamping, for creating backgrounds on your cards, for creating scenes. There are so many possibilities with die cuts, and I use them on almost every single one of my projects. So once again, if you think about a die like a cookie cutter for paper, then you're on the right track. Now here's a look at several different types of dies. Like I said, dies come in all shapes and sizes. There's some background dies, some border dies, and these here are coordinating dies. They're designed to go with a stamp set. But you can see here I have frames, I have wave borders, I have this kind of confetti or alpine snow background. These are standalone dies, but these are coordinating dies. They're designed to die cut stamped images. Now, sometimes coordinating dies can be used on their own, but for most part, they're designed to be used with the coordinating stamp set. When you get a die set, it's not uncommon to find that many of the dies are all connected. And so in order to prepare your dies for proper die cutting, you're going to need to do a little prep work if they're all kind of connected by these metal tines. This is very common, and it's very easy to separate your dies and get them ready for use. Now, if I were to cut this submarine right now with all these other dies inside of that submarine die, I'm going to be left with a bunch of weird shaped holes in the middle of my submarine. So I need to just take a pair of wire cutters, or in this case, I'm using some die snips, and I'm just snipping out those metal tines. And this is going to separate all these dies so that I can use them individually. Now, it's a little harder to separate dies that are contained inside of another die with your hands, but sometimes you're able to kind of just bend them and break them apart. Like I said, that's a little more difficult when the die is nested inside of another die, but you can see here that now that I have them out of that submarine shape, I can just kind of bend those and break them apart. Now, oftentimes when I'm snipping off these metal tines, they can go flying, and I have stepped on one of them before, and let me just tell you, that was way worse than stepping on a Lego. So if you kind of use a baby wipe to catch those metal tines as you snip them off, that'll keep them from flying, and it'll keep it from sticking out of your heel one day in your craft room. Just trust me on this one. So once I've separated all these dies, I can go ahead and put them back on the magnetic backer sheet that's included with all Essentials by Ellen die sets, and just slide those into the same pocket as the coordinating stamp set. And then I have all of my stamps and dies ready for use. Now here's a couple frames. These are my favorite, but what I want to show you on these dies is the little holes that are in the corners of these dies. And some people ask, why are there holes on my dies? And it's not just for good looks, people. They actually serve a purpose. So you can see there's holes in the corners of these frames, and then on the back side of the sentiment, you'll find numerous holes. These are to help you release the die cut paper from the die. So once I've ran it through my die cut machine, I have this larger frame that fell right out of the die. But sometimes the die cut shapes kind of get caught inside of the die. And so these holes are there so you can just take a little pokey tool, or this is called a craft pick, and just kind of push that out to release that die cut paper from the die itself. And that just helps remove the paper from the die. And this tends to happen a little more frequently on more intricate dies. So you'll find them really helpful on intricate dies. The other way to remove them is to slam them on your desk. And I've done it before. It works rather well. Now, we've done a lot of playing with die cut machines, and these, in our opinion, are some of the top machines on the market. We're going to look at the Gemini Junior here, which is the only electric powered one that I have in this group. We're also going to look at a couple manual die cut machines, the Spellbinder's Platinum 6, which I have my hand up on here now, and the Spellbinder's Platinum machine. And I'm going to show you all the differences between these machines in this video, so stay tuned. And I will have all of these products linked in the description below. So we're going to start out with what I would consider the most basic of these die cut machines. This is a manual machine. This is the Spellbinder's Platinum 6. And it comes with the machine and the handle. You do have to assemble the handle onto the machine. And it comes with these accessories here along with a guidebook. So you'll get your platform, which is necessary for creating your die cutting sandwich. And we will go over that in just a bit for this machine. But the thing I love about this platform is that the instructions are kind of printed right there. Now you're also going to get the tan embossing mat, 2 clear cutting pads, and then the embossing plate as well. So this machine is great because it's compact. You could take this on the go. There's no electricity required. It folds up nicely for storage. And in order to use it, you're going to need to fold out these platform areas. Now, as I mentioned before, the platform itself has the die cutting sandwiches kind of printed there. So you always have that handy. You're going to need this platform in order to build what we call sandwiches in the die cutting world. And I'm going to show you how to build that sandwich here. So I've started out with my platform. Then I have my first clear cutting plate. Now I have my paper. And I have my die with the blade side facing the paper. Remember, this is like a cookie cutter, so we want to face that blade towards our dough, which is our cardstock in this example. And then I'm going to finish off this sandwich with my second clear cutting plate. So I built this all up on that platform area. And once I get my sandwich built, I can just go ahead and slide it, get it started in the machine, and then crank it through with my hand. Now this Spellbinder's Platinum 6 die cut machine is a great basic machine. I love that you can fold it up so it's compact. It's lightweight, it weighs about 7 pounds, 10 ounces, and it's easy to take on the go. It's gonna give you great results. And as you can see here, once I take this out, those die cuts just fall right out of those dies, and I have perfectly cut shapes ready to go on any of my crafting projects. I can die cut paper, felt, lightweight fabrics, and all of them are going to get great results using this machine. Now I wanted to quickly show you that you can emboss with dies using this machine and all of the other machines as well. I'm going to hold my die in place on this cardstock using a little bit of Thermoweb purple tape. And using the guide that's printed on the platform, I'm going to build my sandwich. So in this case, I have my platform, my die with the blade facing the paper. I have my paper, my tan embossing mat, and my purple embossing plate, and that builds my sandwich. There's no clear cutting plates in this sandwich. And once I run it through my machine, it adds the pressure needed to create the embossed line. And you can see from this angle, it's debossed. If I turn it over, it's embossed. So this is a great tool to use to get more out of your dies. You can emboss sentiments or shapes on your card bases or even patterns. Now the Sizzix Platinum 6 does have replaceable cutting pads. All of these have replaceable cutting pads. And your cutting surface area for the Spellbinder's Platinum 6 is going to be about 6 1/8 inches by 8 3/4 inches. That's the size of your plates. I also wanted to point out that this is the most compact of the machines that I'm sharing today. It measures about 12.5 by 9.5 by 7.5 inches. And I will have all these dimensions listed over on the ellenhutson.com site. Now let's take a look at the Gemini Junior machine by Crafter's Companion. This machine is the only electronic powered machine that I'll be showing today. There's no hand crank on this. This machine measures about 8 inches by 10 3/4 by 5.5. You do have to have power to use it. It does come with the power cord, and you'll want to make sure you turn on that main power on the back as well as the power button on the top. Now, this machine is a little bit heavier. It weighs about 10 pounds, 1 ounce, but this machine is a great option if you do a lot of intricate die cutting or if you have very little hand strength. I know that can be a problem for some people with die cutting. This comes with the machine, the power cord, 2 clear plastic cutting plates, the rubber embossing mat. It comes with a clear plastic shim, a magnetic shim, as well as a metal cutting plate. Now, I left these pads in here on purpose because these are my well-loved and well-used cutting plates, and they're gonna get yucky. They're gonna get warped. That's a part of die cutting. All of the pressure and the blades cutting into these plates get them a little marred up over time. This is what a brand new cutting plate looks like. They are replaceable, and after some time you are going to want to replace them because it can affect your paper and the quality of your die cuts over time if they're too messed up. Now, this machine comes with an instruction book, and this instruction book is going to be your guide for building your sandwiches for die cutting, embossing, using embossing folders, those sorts of things, so you'll want to keep it handy. Now, in order to build our sandwich for the Gemini Junior, I'm going to start with a clear cutting plate. I'm going to place my paper and then my dies blade side down onto my quote-unquote dough. I'm going to use the plastic shim, the magnetic shim, and then a second plastic cutting plate. Now, this entire sandwich I'm going to take and I'm going to put through my machine. Now, this machine is very cool because it has an auto feed feature, which leaves my hands free to take a sip of coffee, answer a text message, and it keeps my hands and my arms from being too tired after I've already done my upper body workout and my triceps are worn out. So you can see it takes about 10 seconds for this to go through the machine. And when I remove my dies and my paper from the sandwich, you can see I have my perfectly cut hearts here. Now, these plates for the Gemini Junior, they measure about 6 by 9. So keep that in mind. They're pretty comparable with the Platinum 6 as far as cutting area is concerned. And now we're going to emboss with a die, just like we did with the Platinum 6. So I'm starting out with my clear plastic cutting plate. I have my clear shim, my die with the blade facing the paper. Then I have my paper, my rubber embossing mat, and my second cutting pad. And I'm going to send this through the machine. Now, this is the prescribed sandwich for embossing with dies for the Gemini Junior. But I found that it was a little too much pressure. It went right through my material. So after a little bit of playing, I found that this sandwich worked a little bit better for me. Sometimes you have to play with the amount of pressure that you're putting on your machine, and you can vary that by how deep the shims are that you're using. So I use my clear plastic cutting plate, my magnetic shim, my die with the blade facing the paper. Then I use the Spellbinder's tan embossing mat and a second cutting pad. And that gave me the perfect pressure. Now, if I was using a lighter weight material, this might be too much pressure. If I was using a heavier weight material, it may not be enough. So sometimes you may have to play with that just a bit. Now let's talk about the big mama. This is the Spellbinder's Platinum machine. This is the largest of all the machines that I'm showing you today, and it is also a manual crank machine, and it is designed much like the Platinum 6, only your cutting area is much larger, and I couldn't get the whole thing even in the shot. But I did wanted to show you what it comes with. It comes with the machine and the handle. You do have to assemble the handle. It comes with this really large platform. Your cutting area on this is going to be 8.5 by 12.5 inches. It comes with 2 standard size clear cutting plates. It comes with the embossing plate, that purple one there, and the tan embossing mat as well. Now here's a look at the comparison in size to the Spellbinder's Platinum 6 versus the Spellbinder's Platinum. You're going to get a lot more cutting area with this machine. You can cut full size 8.5 by 11 pieces of cardstock without even cutting them down. This machine does come with the standard size plates, but there are the extra large plates available that allow you to cut the entire area of that 8.5 by 12.5 inch platform. So once again, I'm going to build my sandwich in the same way. I'm going to start with my platform. Then I am going to add my first clear cutting plate, my paper, my dies with the blade side down, and then I'm going to add a second cutting plate on top and run this through my machine. And I have perfectly die cut hearts once again. Now these sandwiches on this machine are exactly the same as the Spellbinder's Platinum 6, so I'm not going to walk you through the embossing today, but I just wanted to show you that. Now this machine measures about 15.5 by 11.25 by 10 inches, and it weighs about 14 pounds, 13 ounces. So it is a rather large machine and probably not something you're gonna take on the go. Now, one of my most asked questions about die cutting is how to get good results with intricate dies. Can you use 110-pound cardstock? Of course you can. You just have to use the right sandwich to get the job done. And I find that when I use my Gemini Junior, I get great results. And I just add my metal cutting plate to my die cutting sandwich, and I can cut this 110-pound cardstock with an intricate die with no problem. Now, I experimented with all of these machines, and I've experimented with many machines on the market, not just these three. And I find that with intricate dies, I do get the best results with the Gemini Junior. Now, keep in mind, this metal shim can be used with any of the machines I'm showing today. That's going to add a little more pressure to the die. And then I've run it through my Gemini Junior, and you can see I'm just kind of throwing this against my work surface to remove the die cut from the die itself. And now I'm going to use the Spellbinder's Tool-in-One to pop out all of those extra pieces that are on the inside, those little hanging chads, you know? And in order to do this more successfully, I've found that if I just add a piece of craft foam to my surface and just roll this brush over, it pops all of those extra pieces of paper out. And I have a perfectly cut, intricate die cut shape, no problem at all for the Gemini Junior. Now, what do you do with all those extra little pieces? You use a lint roller. I keep a lint roller in my drawer, and I can just sweep up all of these extra little pieces that I've made a mess of my surface with. This is also great for cleaning up things like embossing powder when you spill it or glitter. So I would recommend keeping one of those on hand. Now, I was able to successfully cut these intricate dies with the Platinum 6 as well, but I do personally find that the Gemini Junior gives me the best results with intricate dies. Now, earlier in this video, I showed you those coordinating dies and I removed them all, but I thought I would show you them in action. So I'm taking this stamp and I'm stamping it onto some white cardstock. And then I'm going to take the coordinating die and I'm going to line it up around that stamped image. It just kind of nestles right over. I'm going to hold it in place with some Thermoweb purple tape, which I happen to keep on a tape dispenser in my drawer. And then I'm going to run this through my die cut machine with my standard die cutting sandwich. This is a wafer thin die, so it works just like any other. The difference is it just has a stamp that coordinates with it. These are available in lots of shapes and creatures and sentiments, and they're so much fun and they look so professional when they're on your card. Once I've run it through my die cut machine, you can see I have this perfectly cut out submarine. I can add a little Copic coloring or watercolor and pop it up on a card, and it makes an adorable, quick and easy card. Now, a couple accessories that you may want to consider if you're really getting into this are either the Gemini foil press or the Spellbinder's Glimmer. Both of these allow you to heat transfer foil using your dies or what are called foil stamps as well. The Gemini foil press is designed to work with the Gemini Junior, and the Spellbinder's Glimmer is designed to work with the Platinum 6. And if you want to see this in action, I will pop a card up in this upper right-hand corner right here. So you can see this in action. The Glimmer works in much the same way. The features are a little bit different, but whatever machine you have, that's the coordinating foil machine that you would want to buy. Now, you've already seen these accessories in use in this video, but I wanted to point them out again, and I will have them linked in the description at YouTube as well as over at the ellenhutson.com blog, but they are some of my go-to accessories for die cutting. So there you have it, a guide to die cutting and a look at the 3 machines that we think are the best on the market that offer the best results. As always, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Here we'll have more paper crafting and card making video tutorials to share with you if you'll just follow along. As always, thanks for stopping by and hanging out with me today. And until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day.